Good day, and welcome to the pop culture news here on The Experience. Now, we got lots of news today, so let's jump right in. Now, while there hasn't been an official announcement, most of the major entertainment sites have reported that a Vision series is in the works from Marvel Studios, and that the showrunner of Star Trek Picard, Terry Matalas, will be at the helm. Now, the series is set to pick up from the end of WandaVision and follow the rebuilt colorless version of the android played by Paul Bettany. Now, we last saw the Vision flying off after having a philosophical discussion about existence and, with the Hex version of Vision, the ship of Theseus debate. Now, wherever he ends up, though, he's going to have a familiar face to deal with, or at least a familiar voice, in that that now multiple sites are reporting that Emmy-winning actor James Spader will be joining the series to reprise his role as the voice of Ultron. Last seen in Avengers Age of Ultron, almost a decade ago. Ultron was created by Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., and Bruce Banner, Mark Ruffalo, to protect the Earth when its programming led it to believe the biggest threat to the planet was the Avengers and humanity. Now, as part of its plan, Ultron created a vibranium body for itself, only to have the Avengers put Stark's AI, Jarvis, into the body instead, which created the Vision, also thanks to lightning bolt from Mjolnir. Now, Spader has done a lot of television in the past, so this isn't too strange for him. I mean, he did long stints on Boston Legal and The Blacklist. A 10-season series had just ended this last year, so it makes a lot of sense. But no official title, plot, or scheduling has been released about the new series. So this one is at least in production or in pre-production, but it has not been officially announced. So there's always that chance that it goes away, but that's where it's at right now. Staying with Marvel, Cal-OSHA, the California Organization for Safety, whatever OSHA stands for, they have ruled that Disney must pay a fine of $36,000 for the death of Juan Carlos Osorio on the Marvel Studios Wonder Man film set back in February. Now, the 41-year-old rigger was working at Radford Studios, where he was collecting and removing lighting cable equipment high up on the stage 3 when he stood on a weakened section of the catwalk. The floorboard broke apart and Osorio fell 41 feet to his death. Now, the series wasn't actually filming at the time, but this is the actual report from Cal-OSHA. It says at 6:50 a.m. on February 6, 2024, an employee was working on engineering technician for a television and film production company. The employee was working with a crew which included employees 1 and 2. The crew was working on a wooden catwalk located in stage 3. The crew was collecting and removing lighting cable equipment that was hanging from the wooden platforms. One platform was accessible via a wooden staircase that continued upward and was connected to the other wooden catwalk platforms. The walking surface of these catwalks consisted of wooden floorboards of various sizes, including a 2-inch by 6-inch and 2-inch by 8-inch boards. These floorboards were supported underneath by 2-inch by 4-inch wooden supports, sometimes referred to as ledgers. A particular section of this catwalk had deteriorated ledger that was not bearing the 4-inch by 12-inch underlying support beam, but instead was improperly nailed to a roof truss. The deteriorating ledge was weakened, likely due to age, environmental conditions, and repeated stress loads over many decades. As the crew walked along the catwalks, the employees stood on the weakened section of the catwalk. Suddenly, without warning, the ledger supporting the floorboard broke apart and collapsed as the employee was standing on the section. The employee fell 41 feet and forcefully impacted the ground below. The employee was pronounced dead by responding emergency medical services shortly after the fall. The cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head, neck, and legs. So condolences to Osorio's family and friends. But Disney is going to have to pony up a bit for that. Okay, moving over to some more Marvel stuff. Fans of Welcome to Wrexham can tell you there's a genuine love between Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. Well, Ryan had to cut Rob's part, his cameo in Deadpool and Wolverine, and he took to social media to kind of explain why, because, I mean, that's his buddy. He said, so Rob kindly did a cameo in Deadpool and Wolverine. The sequence wasn't working, and Rob is why it stayed in the cut for so long. Even under a TVA mask, you can feel him smoldering with a raw, untapped reservoir of intensity. Don't get me started on Wrexham. I wouldn't know a love like that if it weren't for Rob. It feels good when friends are nearby, and even though I'm mortified he flew to London for me, I'm grateful my friend was on the set. Rob shows up for people. It's why he's the absolute best. We know that McElhenney was set to play a TVA agent, and in a different post, Reynolds described the scene as, even as he begged for his life before Aelith snatched his unsuspecting body into the air, swallowing him whole, eventually digesting and converting him into Aelith poop, R.I.P. TVA soldier. Now, with any luck, we'll get to see the scene as part of the extras. Moving over to DC, James Gunn has created a bit of buzz this weekend when replying to a follower on social media. The director and co-head of DC Studios says he was originally asked, if you had the chance to cast any of the Guardians of the Galaxy stars in the DC universe, who would you cast them as? Now, as the guy in charge, along with Peter Safran, Gunn could cast any of his former Guardian if he wanted to. That would likely, as he already has cast frequent collaborators Nathan Fillion and his brother Sean Gunn, James' brother, not Nathan's brother, in the upcoming Superman. Now, James Gunn responded by saying, well, that would be a spoiler, wouldn't it? And while no other members of the GOTG has been set in the new DC universe as of yet, there has been speculation since Chris Pratt visited the set of Superman. Pom Klementieff has talked about joining the cast, and that there's perhaps a specific character they're talking about. And Dave Bautista, who a lot of fans want to see as Bane, has said that he thinks he's aged out of that character, but would be open to playing Lex Luthor. Now, Superman itself has wrapped filming with no planned reshoots and will be in theaters July 11th, 2025. Warner Brothers Television has made the first steps to bringing back Ted Lasso for another season. The studio has picked up the contract options for 3 of the original cast members of the hugely popular sports comedy. Now, those actors are Hannah Waddingham, who plays Rebecca Walton, the owner of AFC Richmond, Brett Goldstein, the former player turned coach Roy Kent, who also played Hercules in Thor: Love and Thunder, and Jeremy Swift, who plays director of football operations Leslie Higgins. These 3 were under contract with the UK acting union Equity. Now the studio needs to start making deals with the SAG-AFTRA members whose contracts have expired. Reports say that this will include co-creators and stars Jason Sudeikis and Brendan Hunt, who played Ted Lasso and Coach Beard. They also are expected to reach out to Juno Temple, who played Keely Jones. Not expected back, though, is Phil Dunster, who plays Jamie Tart. Now, that's due to 2 other series that he's currently on, The Devil's Hours and Surface. This doesn't mean a 4th season is guaranteed, by the way, but it does pave the pathway for a possibility. And while there's no confirmation that Sudeikis is on board, it's hard to believe the studio would move forward without the titular character. So, fingers crossed we get more Ted Lasso. While the remake of the 1984 film Toxic Avenger has already been finished and is filled with stars like Peter Dinklage, Elijah Wood, and Kevin Bacon, the 2023 Macon Blair film has not found a distributor and is said to have been deemed unreleasable, not safe to market. Now, this film was shown at Fantastic Fest in 2023 and was extremely well received. Now, star Peter Dinklage has come out to say that he hopes the film will find a way into theaters, saying, "No, I'm not a producer on it. I don't know. I do want it to get out there into the world because it was a really big hit at Fantastic Fest in Austin. And Macon Blair, the writer-director, who is also in The Thicket, he's incredible. He's one of my favorite people and favorite artists. So hopefully it will have its day in the Toxic Sun." I remember watching the original Toxic Avenger, and I would love to see this one come to theaters. Speaking of reboots, the Crow reboot definitely didn't soar this weekend on its opening turn. This film was in the making for 16 years, but the $50 million reboot of the 1994 goth thriller, it didn't go so well. It kind of plummeted to earth in the fact that it opened with a horrible 4.6 million weekend. And on top of that, the critics were not kind to it, giving it only a 19%. And moviegoers, these are the people who are fans of the franchise, they didn't say nice things about it either. Post-track, they got 1 star. It got a 47% grade, and only 36% say they would recommend it. So 1 in 3 people would recommend it. That means 2 in 3 would not. Now, the original film did great in theaters. The soundtrack did well. It was a hit, but because of the accidental death of Brandon Lee, the sequels never quite lived up to the original, and attempts, and they had tried so hard to reboot this franchise for years, with all of them eventually failing until now. And this one's probably going to go down as a failure too, but at least this one got in the theaters. So it has that to say. Now, I haven't had a chance to see it yet. I will watch it when I get a chance. But yeah, I wouldn't hold out hope for another Crow movie anytime soon. All right, guys, that's the news. Remember to stick around for Minute to Skim It, Mint Hunter, and Kicking It with Henri, only here on The Experience.